So today I have a great pleasure of talking to a person I've got a great deal of respect for, someone who probably as soon as you see his picture, you kind of know who he is. But in the Niagara region, and especially in the Welland area, Kelly Jones is very much active in the business and the employment world. And Kelly Jones, who joins us today, is actually the program manager for employment solutions with two locations in Welland. And I've always admired Kelly's insights and also his pulse on the trends of what's going on, especially in Niagara and especially, of course, in Welland. So welcome, Kelly. And I wanted to obviously invite you into this conversation about, sharing good news and some things that are going on. But tell us some of the trends that you're obviously seeing as well. So before we begin, Kelly, tell us a bit about employment solutions and your role and a bit about the work that you and your team do.
All right. Well, I appreciate you inviting me. I was kind of hoping for an interview invite from Anderson Cooper to maybe be on CNN. But you know what? You're pretty much like a pretty good second place. So I'll take it. So yeah, to talk about employment solutions, we are an Employment Ontario funded nonprofit employment agency here in Welland. So
Right.
Employment Ontario funds many great organizations here in Niagara, such as SURF, Job Gym, Niagara College,
Right.
and also the YMCA has multiple locations. So we happen to be one of those in the Employment Ontario network. So Employment Solutions, just like everyone else, offer great free employment services for people looking for work. So no matter if you're fresh out of high school or if you're just graduated university or you're just looking for a part-time job in your retirement age, these are the kind of services that we can help provide. So it's a really customized, especially here at Employment Solutions. We really sit down with the client and really hunker down and say, okay, what are you looking for? Not trying to force everyone into kind of the same assessment or the same, fit and from there. So we try our best to really get to know the client and then help them out and set some goals. And if it's training, is it a job? Is it other community resources that they can be leaned on? So really almost like kind of a hub kind of system. So we're sending people out to different services. So maybe you're not ready for that job right now. Maybe you just need to get a training or meet with another organization to get you to that spot. That's where we're going to come from. So, and also on the other end is, for employers. And I know that, Neil, you work with a lot of different employers here in Niagara. Challenging landscape, especially with COVID-19, but, leaning on an Employment Ontario office like Employment Solutions is a great avenue to get your postings out there, get some great applicants to see your job postings. And there's funding through the Canadian Ontario Job Grant for training. Right. And of course, there's funding for hiring new people that may need that extra little training support. Employment Ontario gives us some great funding options. So that's a long-winded answer, but from employers to job seekers, there's free services. And I know with COVID-19, that statement is going to ring very true.
Yeah.
You can get some free help. Employment Ontario does send out some great funding and continue that funding throughout COVID-19, and especially now that we're slowly regulating or getting things back to normal, we're still there to help. So it's been great.
And I've always appreciated your work, and I highly recommend my clients will approach you as well. And the fact that a lot of your services are free is a really valuable tool for all of Niagara. I think more people need to know that you exist. Obviously, Kelly, since March, since the pandemic, we're now into September. We're into the fifth and sixth month of this incredible change, which has been almost exponential in nature. How has the pandemic affected you and your team specifically?
Well, you know what? For me, if I can speak frankly as myself as a program manager, it's been a real crash course or a real maturing process for myself, where it's just like, okay, like these things, there's no here's your COVID guidelines on how to handle COVID, right? So it's been working with the team, trying to feel what's the best solutions for everybody. So it's been great for me as a manager. I know there's, not too many positives, a lot of negatives with COVID-19, but
Right.
if I can start pulling out some positive, it's been good for me as a manager and as well as our team, because it kind of brought us back down to like all to the same level. Like, okay,
Yeah.
we're at home, clients are not job searching right now. We have to rebuild that. How do we do that? So it really gave us a chance to re-engage with our website, re-engage with some essential services, especially in March and April, where we're reaching out to different employers and saying, if you're still hiring, let us know. We'll post. And all those people that applied, we knew that they were definitely looking for work. So we reached out to them very proactively and said, okay, this is different times. Let's work on this together. Don't do this alone. And so that really made us re-engage our client first approach.
Yeah.
And then as a team, because maybe we weren't dealing with the same volume of clients, especially during March, April, and May, we had a chance to do some training. So we did some training with you. We did some training with Niagara Distress and so on. And sorry, the Distress Center in Niagara, there was a proper term.
Great.
And so ultimately, we were able to work with Bright Mango HR and do some HR training. It's been really good to kind of all get back on the same level and then strategically plan some training to help us. So when we got back up to the main flow, which we're hoping to do in the next month or so, that our team will be kind of rejuvenated. And I had a couple staff coming back from mat leave as well, and that made things a little bit more complex. So
I appreciate how you've brought your team together, rebuilt. I've just finished writing a fairly lengthy paper on the importance of vision right now in business. The infinite game is what we call it, is the long term out the next 2 or 3 years versus so many people that are reacting short term in a finite game right now. It's just making these small reactionary decisions versus decisions that are based upon a longer term perspective. And that's something I appreciate about you and your team. And you're absolutely right. There's no rule book to this. The people right now who are reinventing and pivoting the quickest are the ones who are actually going to come out of this faster. It's the larger organizations, the tougher places to drive change, the places that struggle with a longer term perspective. Kelly, with your clients, what are some of the trends that you're seeing right now? Like what's becoming very apparent, even in the Welland community, but even beyond throughout Niagara? What are you seeing?
Well, I'm going to say we definitely see some active job seekers. There's a lot of people in the community right now that believe that everyone's just collect and serve. No one's looking for work. And that's been slowly changing, I would say, since mid-June, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And everyone's been kind of slowly coming back. So I would say we're pretty close to a non-COVID year on client amount as we sit here in kind of mid-September, which I can't believe is mid-September, but nonetheless, ultimately, so those are some of the trends that we're starting to see. Our job seekers come back, and it's there's no playbook, and there's no playbook for our job seekers. So if someone is apprehensive and they only worked frontline jobs and they're apprehensive about getting back into working frontline jobs, I do understand that. We're definitely trying to be aware of all our clients, like mental health, and I'm not saying people with mental health disabilities or anything like that, but I'm just saying everyone's mental health across the community. Right? This has been a real kind of gut punch for everyone, right? Because it's kind of reassess everyone's priorities. So when we're doing those intake meetings, once again, going to that client first approach, we're really just sitting down and saying, how are you feeling about this whole job seek? We could easily say, apply for this, apply for that, apply for this, and call me back and we'll do some call-ups.
Right.
That feels good, it feels productive, but then are you going to rush somebody into a job that they're going to quit in a week? Then that's not really doing them a service. It's not really good time application for us.
Right.
And so we're, trying to ask those more difficult questions. And I think COVID-19 has got us more comfortable with, approaching those, like, what is your mental state towards applying? It's made those questions easier. Maybe in September of 2019, our group maybe wouldn't ask a lot of those more probing or personal questions. But now with COVID-19, everything's kind of on the table and we're trying to do what's best for the client, even more than we were maybe a year ago.
Yeah. Well, in light of that as well, Kelly, you deal with two main clients. You deal with people obviously looking to go into the job search world, the individual, and you're also representing the businesses to which are calling you to say, "Hey, I'd like to start to rebuild coming out of this." What advice would you offer, number one, to the individual who may be looking for work, and then number two, to the company who may be looking to bring in some people at this time?
So yeah, if you're looking for work, and especially as there's, I guess I wouldn't say there's a significant fewer of applications, but there is less, opportunities to apply or job postings that will fit you perfectly. So this is a good chance. And just like our team did, is to kind of take that collective breath and really focus on that application. So not, before our clients would get on, whatever your local job posting thing is, like click send, click send, click send. I've applied to 40 jobs in 2 hours.
Right.
Now with COVID, there's less postings. So really look at that posting, really look at the cover letter,
Right.
or actually intentionally make a cover letter. How about that as the important advice? Yeah, because we get a lot of just resumes, but really explain or tell that employer why you're the best fit, and spend some time with the cover letter and craft that. And then once again, I'll do a pitch for our services is, if you're not 100% confident in your cover letter, just become one of our clients and we'll review it, and then you'll feel more confident, and then all that stuff kind of snowballs into better job success.
Well,
But
even in our recruitment, sorry, Kelly.
Yeah.
Even in our recruitment, our clients are looking for attitude. They're looking for the ability to learn, the ability to push the business to the next level. So in interviews, I often will say, what do you know about our organization? What do you like about our vision and values? What are you reading right now? What are you doing to improve yourself? So the people who are consciously doing that are the ones who position themselves better for the organization versus just their skill sets and their knowledge. I like to look for more, but keep going, Kelly.
Yeah. So going back to the client when they're applying is, the most important is just taking your time, really looking at that posting. What are some of the key skills they're looking for? And are you addressing that in your cover letter or resume? So, an example, I post a job for forklift and someone puts their forklift certificate on the second page. Sure, it's there, and I appreciate that.
Right.
And that you did some minor reading, but would have been that hard to copy and paste it and put that on page one? And I would be like, yeah, here it is. Like John Smith, he's got his forklift. He put it right at the top of his highlights of qualifications. Right. It's little things like that that just go a long way. And especially, less postings, but could be more applicants. So what are you taking a conscious effort to make sure that you're going above and beyond someone else? It was important a year ago. It was important 5 years ago, but now it's even more important.
Yeah. What makes you unique? How do you stand out in a crowded market? That's so true.
And then with the employer piece is, as I talked about, with the anxiety of possibly working, especially if you're an employer that's asking people to work frontline, a little TLC will go a long way, and then that TLC can come in many different forms. And I know everyone's budgets are tight, but that TLC can come in, pay them an extra $1 an hour, right? Yeah. So if they were at a job and they were making minimum wage working frontline, and now they may have lost that job because of COVID and they're looking to get back, they're like, do I really want to risk my health, my family's health for the same minimum wage job? But if you go out there and just pay them $1 or $2 more, that's going to eat at your bottom line. But the chances of that employee or that quality employee applying and staying is going to be way higher. And the retention piece, I don't know how many accountants out there for small businesses work out on what retention or lack of retention costs. But we see it with all the small businesses that we have, And I know it takes two to tango, right? You know, the employer and the applicant, they've got to work hard to make sure that that relationship stays, you know, lengthy. But it's just that, you know, if the applicant already has some anxieties because of COVID-19, what are you putting in place? And it doesn't have to be grandiose.
Yeah.
It could just be little things can go a long way. The personal touch, a lot of things that you coach a lot of your employers on is going to be even more impactful, right? Than it was. So yeah, really paying attention to those nuances with the employee, making sure that they feel valued is going to help out with the retention and get you better applicants in the end.
Yeah. Even the Maslow hierarchy of needs, the top human need is self-actualization. In the working world, it's recognition of a job well done. And that recognition is very specific, very driven to examples. It's backed up with sincerity. It's just classic human relations that I think a lot of people are revisiting right now. Obviously, as we're coming to a close, Kelly, you know, what's going on in Welland? Like, what are you excited about in that thriving metropolis? There's some great changes going on.
There's some great changes. Yeah. So just on a group phone call, or I guess a group Zoom, you know, the city is still talking about that there's building permits and growth. You know, just today we had a couple employers reach out new to the area, needed some temp employees. So, you know, and it's good to see that Welland is not being forgotten during this growth. And I know maybe during, you know, maybe from about 2000 to the economic recovery of the early 2000s, they were forgotten on many avenues, but with the growth of the GTA and the strength of the economy pre-COVID, we're still seeing some big impacts on that.
Good.
And that's either downtown or even the north end around Niagara Street. And some very small businesses are starting to be a little bit more popular. And it's also changing the mindset of Wellanders as well, and especially job applicants. Is that there's, you know, a Hershey or a Atlas, they're not going to come around anymore. And which is all good or bad. It depends on how you look at it, right? You have to be more strategic, like an Inyo coming in. It's been great for the city, but that's only 250 people, but you got to know what you're doing. You got to have certain skill sets, all that sort of stuff, right? So, and there's plenty of other small businesses in Niagara that are looking to hire those manufacturing jobs that people think that don't exist, right? So sitting down with someone from Employment Ontario office is going to do you a lot of wonders, especially if you're a younger person, right? And so when I mean younger person, I mean like 18 to 25. This is your chance to gain skills. Is it a college format? Doesn't always have to be. And is a university format? Doesn't always have to be. There's plenty of different training opportunities that are put together from different providers all over that can help you get there. I wouldn't say the worst case, but like the more difficult time is when you're in your mid to late 30s and you're like, okay, I want to gain some skills.
Right.
And then you get into are you worth the investment? So for an apprenticeship in your mid to late 30s, you're not a great investment for an apprenticeship. But if you make that decision in your early 20s to say, I really want to become an HVAC technician, then you don't have to do that for the rest of your life. It's not like the mob. You don't sign up and say, okay, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. So you might do HVAC and then you might do something else in your mid to late 30s, but you'll always have those skills and that ability to earn here in Niagara, which is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, and a career in HVAC, plumbing, electrical is actually, you could do quite well in it. And I'm starting to see now with the pandemic, a lot more of the trades are getting better candidates because even in high school, the classes are offset. So some of the high school students are looking to make some money. They're getting back engaged in the manufacturing world. So, you know, Kelly, I want to thank you obviously for
no problem. It's been great.
And taking time out of your day to kind of just come in and just share some good news. And I think that's kind of the purpose of this whole thing is, you know, what's going on? What are some stories out there that people can actually appreciate? I kind of follow social media some days and feel like jumping off a bridge. It's just everything's so negative. So I always appreciate your enthusiasm and your sense of humor. Sorry, I'm not Anderson Cooper, but I'm going to work on
No, yeah. And I'm happy Ridgeway doesn't have any bridges. as well. Yeah.
Ridgeway. Well, thanks, Kelly. Thanks for taking some time, and hold tight. I'm just going to pull off the recording.